What's up everybody, samsmyers here. Today I want to show you how to make the bass to Baddadan by Boo and Chase and Status. Let me show you what we're going to make today. So I've got a couple layers going on. I've got the sub bass, I've got like that main bass sound, and then I've got just like an 808 hit that's happening with the drums. So the drums, I found this loop in a lot of D&B. You can just find like loops on like Splice and chop these up. So I found this one loop that sounded really close to the loop in the original song. And I just like chopped it up a tiny bit, and then I added on a hi-hat. And then I added on this 808 hit. And so let me show you what that 808 is. I just made it in Serum. Analog BD sign. I have this envelope 1 with some release. I have the LFO 1 mode on envelope, rate high, and assigned to the chorus tuning with some modulation. I have a tube distortion, and then the EQ just giving a bit of that low to mid and boost. And then I probably want to put this randomness at 0 if it's only one voice of unison. So let me fix that. And so that's what it sounds like if I play it on my keyboard, and this alpha 1's giving it that knock sound. Maybe I'll put this voicing in mono as well. So that's kind of just how you do that bass sound. That was just one of those things I was making to try and get this main bass to fit within the track. Just try and figure out how it will sound if I play it with the drums. So then I have this sub. So the sub, these are the notes that I'm playing for the sub. And this is also in Serum. I just have the sub oscillator. I have this envelope 1, the attack a bit slow, bit of a curve there, because that's how that main layer has a bit of a slow attack sound. That's how you kind of get that like wompy sound, is just slow down the attack. And then I have the distortion on just a bit of soft clipping. So nothing too crazy for that sub. But I decided to do that so I could really manipulate this main bass sound and not have to worry about like maintaining that low end. So when I did edit this bass sound for the higher notes, I did some automation where I'm automating. So this automation here is the filter frequency knob. So I'm automating this knob in my effects. You see I automate the cutoff a bit lower. So let's go ahead and play this. So here, if I raise up that cutoff, it gets brighter. So I just wanted to make it a bit brighter for those higher notes. And then I'm also automating the decay. So I felt like the decay was a bit longer on those higher notes. So you can see that I shortened that decay for the notes that are a lot lower. And so that's just like stuff that I was doing to get the sound to fit in the song a bit better. So those are just some things you can play around with, like play around with that decay, play around with the filter frequency. I feel like it might even be more filtered in the track, like the whole sound might be more filtered. So you could even add on more EQ and filter it off. So you can play around with some EQ like that. And then on top of that Serum, I've got the decapitator sound toys just for some extra distortion, and the vintage verb for some hall reverb. And then there's just like these two notes where I've got one that's just all reverb, and then one that is just a bit more distortion. So just like decapitator and some EQ on that, and just adding it to the original layer just to make it sound more like how it sounds in the track. So let me take out the decapitator and the vintage verb, and let's go and just remake this from scratch. So voicing, turn that on to mono because it's a bass sound. Gonna start with our oscillator A, and I'll do the basic shapes because we're gonna do a sine wave. This is using FM modulation to get that sound. Taking that octave to -2, and I'm using one voice of unison. For a bass sound, I like to lower this randomness if it's a bass in one voice of unison. Then I'm going to raise up that level a tiny bit and do the FM from B and put that at like 50%. So this, you're not gonna hear anything right now because it's so low. That's just like a sub sound. So let's go ahead and add on the basic shapes sine wave again. And I can also just go copy oscillator A to B and it will copy everything over. Actually, don't do that because then it messes with the FM. So let me fix that. Okay, so oscillator B, I'm gonna raise up this octave to 0 and raise up the semitones to +7. Now, normally I would lower this level if I'm making an FM sound, but for some reason I think that it actually has some of this oscillator B in the sound. So that's actually too much. Let's take that down. And we'll leave it there. Envelope 1, I'm not going to do too much. Might just add a bit of release. And then envelope 2 is where I'm going to use that to modulate a filter. So going to give that attack a bit of a slow attack and adjust that curve. Lower that sustain, adjust this decay a bit, so pretty short, let's say 315, and then zoom this in, give it a bit of a curve like that, and now let's zoom this out, see what that looks like. And let's just start with that, see how that sounds. Maybe I'll decrease that decay a tiny bit. And now we'll go on to the filter. So I'm just going to add a low cut, start low cutting this, low cutting it because I'm going to be using that sub on a separate track. Don't need that in here, so I can use one of these filters to do that. So I can do the high 12, turning it on for A and B, and then let's put this cutoff at like 140 because we're going to cut off some at low end, take down some of that resonance, and leave it like 1% or so, raise up that drive to 5%. Okay, kind of a boring sound at the moment. So let's add it on our effects. I'm going to put it on the compressor, and if you adjust your compressor to get this like threshold to the point where you see like red here. So let me decrease this master volume. You can hear that it's distorting the sound. So I'm using this compressor for some extra distortion. So let's go ahead and add on that filter now and assign the envelope 2 to this cutoff. And we'll adjust that modulation to about there. Got the resonance up, got the drive up. Now we're starting to get that like womp womp sound. Let's raise up this volume a tiny bit. Let's add on a chorus. Now for the chorus, if you click on this knob, usually it says low pass filter, LPF. If you click on it, you can get the high pass filter. So I'm going to put on the high pass filter because I don't want the chorus added to the low end. I want it added to the high end. And then after that, we'll add on the distortion and assign this envelope 2 to the mix, adjust that modulation. And this will kind of like help get more distortion toward the part of the sound that is like the loudest. So now we got like a lot of distortion, a lot of grittiness to the sound. So what I'm going to do is just add on a low cut again and then cut off some of that top end because I feel like it's kind of muffled in the track. And that's it for Serum. So after that, then I add on the decapitator. And now you can hear I've got that high cut filter on, and then I'm adding in that decapitator. So we're getting a bit of this like muffled, wider noise distortion to the sound by adding on this decapitator. And then I'm adding on just like a hall reverb, kind of light in the background. And then of course I've got these parts automated. Where I'm just automating that filter cutoff, this cutoff up and down for these higher notes. So now let me just solo it with the sub and rearrange that sub. And then I think the sub is like different notes on those two notes. For some reason they sounded different in the track. Like see, I've got this A to A sharpened on the sub. I have E to F. So I think they were a bit different. So that's why another reason why I have the sub on a separate track. But let me just show you the notes for this higher part. And those are the notes for the higher part. So let's play with the drums again. So that is how you can recreate the bass to Baddadan by Boo and Chase and Status. If you do want to grab this preset, I'll put a link down below. And if you would like to check out any of my Serum preset packs, head on over to store.samsmyers.com. And if you like this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and please subscribe to my channel if you are not yet subscribed.